Going live. Like, what the hell's going on? Okay.
Hey, Rick. I'm gonna go straight.
Well, we didn't go from the very beginning. We're almost beginning.
Follow the 118 to get up and around the weather down here. What's the visibility of Burbank? Broken clouds?
We're not going to watch the entire thing. We're just messing around. Actually, what the hell's going on? It's like, this is not...
We'll be here in about 15 minutes.
Why am I zoomed in? What the hell's going on here?
Pilot for Island Express, a helicopter charter company based in California's Los Angeles County.
Okay, I have a plus space on here too.
Southern California for a number of decades, and they're known as a company that can provide VIP helicopter service.
Well, let's mess around. Let's mess around with my settings. We're actually here to mess around with settings on top of everything else.
LA Clippers superstar Kawhi Leonard, and today's client, LA Lakers great Kobe Bryant.
Yay! We can do this. We can watch.
Best basketball players of all time.
We're also here to watch
He was Laker. He was
Kobe Bryant.
In 1996, when he was 17 years old, he became the heart and soul of the team for 20 years. He won 5.
Yay! Let's watch
He won the
this.
All-Star game 18 times, and really just became a huge star in his own right from the team, and that he was recognized simply by his first name, Kobe. How's everyone doing today?
Ara Zabayan has flown Kobe and his family dozens of
Does anyone want to join in? How about Kobe Bryant's helicopter crash?
Really become friends because he had piloted.
It's not the focus of the stream, but
California that they developed a relationship.
it is a test stream.
Kobe Bryant flies in a luxury Sikorsky F-76B.
We got my camera working. It is the focus of the stream was
76B
getting my camera working.
air limousine, and that it's quite common for VIP travel. I think heads of state use it in different countries, and it's also used as sort of an air ambulance in some situations.
But we are watching
It's spacious and
air disasters.
as they come.
Kobe Bryant's air crash from a couple of years back.
Gianna and 6 others are headed to a basketball tournament in Rio, 80 miles away. Kobe is the team's coach, Gianna the star player. Today's 30-minute flight will take the helicopter north past Burbank and then west towards Camarillo. Zabayan will follow 2 highways for guidance.
How do I fix the fact it's
west to Camarillo.
reversed? How do I fix that? How do I fix that problem? It's reversed. Holy crap, it is reversed. That's my right hand. That's my right hand. How do I fix that?
Good flight to it.
That's my right hand.
Just after
That's my right hand.
the helicopter lifts off from Santa.
It is. I don't know how to fix that.
The destination is Kobe Bryant's Mamba Sports Academy. It's a regular journey.
So that I can't
He flew the
fix.
same group there and back yesterday.
He was a very experienced pilot. He was able to fly the helicopter at speed at low altitude in a very
No, we have to deal with that then.
weather at the same time.
That's reversed.
Since his early days as a player, Kobe Bryant has preferred
I don't know how to
helicopter
fix
travel to
that.
the crowded freeways of Southern California. He routinely uses helicopters for his personal and professional
Well,
travel.
I guess for copyright, I'm going to leave that in place.
Just because he loved.
I don't want to be copyright dinged or whatever, so I'll leave it.
Flew for Island Express.
Whatever.
Flying in LA is like nowhere else. There is a large
Kurt Dietz, former Inland Express pilot.
airspace in a small area. So you're always in and out of airspace.
That's right hand. That's Los Angeles,
Controlled airspace.
Santa Ana, Burbank to Carmelo. Sir Carmelo. Sir,
Burbank helicopter
Whatever.
72 Echo X-ray Sikorsky helicopter approaching the zoo for a 101 westbound transition.
Zabayan requests permission to pass through Burbank's airspace.
It's a very busy airport, And the
I'll try to explain things when I have to.
Number 72, Echo X-ray, Burbank Tower. Burbank Class Charlie is IFR. Say intentions.
Burbank is only accepting IFR flights, or instrument flight rules, which requires pilots to navigate solely on instruments.
Well, I guess they explain things pretty
Is only
well.
authorized to fly using visual flight reference, or VFR.
The threshold for the visual flight is normally 3 miles. The Burbank Airport was 2.5 miles.
With insufficient visibility for VFR, the controller denies his request. But
Well, I
Bryant
guess
been
they
flying helicopters in Southern California long enough to know a way around this restriction.
Asking for special VFR transition to the 101 westbound.
A special VFR
Well, I guess they explained pretty well.
at lower than standard visibilities, down to 1 mile visibility.
And that's the agreement you have with the tower saying,
Oh my god, that was pretty
I
complicated.
want to go there. I'm requesting a special VFR.
Special VFR allows the Bryant to navigate visually through the area of low visibility.
Well, if they show a radar, I'll try to examine it with you guys.
I have an aircraft going around and an inbound.
Okay, we have a Sky 191A. That's 30,000 feet. That's 30,000 feet right there. That's the name of the aircraft. That's the altitude. That's 30,000 feet. The aircraft's at 30,000
The
feet.
controller authorizes the Bryant.
These two aircraft I can't read. I can't read those aircraft.
But
Too
under the
blurry.
rules of special VFR,
But that was 30,000 feet.
until the airspace is clear of traffic.
They leave off one of the digits. They usually leave off one digit.
Hey everyone, we'll have to circle here for a few
So,
minutes while
yeah.
we wait for a few planes to get out of our way. It shouldn't delay us too much.
That's a squawk. It's a squawk number is what that is.
Pressure on you as a pilot because you're gonna be late.
I watch a lot of these shows, so I know what squawk numbers are and altitude. So that was 30,000 feet, and that was a squawk number. So, yep.
Finally, after holding for 12 minutes, the Burbank airspace clears and the Bryant is allowed to pass through.
Number 2, Echo X-ray.
We have 5,001. We got 5,000. That's 5,100. That's 5,000 right here. That's 30. That's 30,000 here. That's 5,190.
Bank maintain special VFR.
Copy that. We'll maintain special VFR. Copter 2, Echo X-ray.
From Burbank, the helicopter will follow the I-5 freeway northwest, 118 around the top of Van Nuys airspace, then south to follow the 101 to Camarillo.
Landmarks for flying aircraft in LA.
Sorry about the reverse. I can't fix that.
Kobe Bryant and the other passengers are anticipated to arrive in Camarillo just a few minutes behind schedule.
Van Nuys, helicopter 2, Echo X-ray with you for the special VFR.
Yeah, you at the top of the screen. The most screen I can give you. Okay, he's at 1,200 feet. That's 1,200 feet altitude. He's mostly level sky. What do we got on here? What do we got? It's not readable. Nothing's readable on here. Yeah, none of this is readable. The resolution's not readable.
Is clear to pass through the air.
Yeah, the gauges aren't readable. The resolution's not readable.
So Bryant now dials in the final controller for this journey. The Southern California.
Yeah, his gauges aren't readable.
Who will handle the flight until it reaches Camarillo.
Helicopter 72, Echo X-ray with you.
I should have looked at this. What do we got? What do we got on here? I'm not sure what most of this is. He's got a couple aircraft here. What is most of this actually? He's got the airlines. He's got. Yeah, I think we got LA. This is LA airspace right here. I think that's the LA. I think that's the LA airspace. This line here is the LA. That's the LA airspace right there. This line, this zigzag, this curl here, this line, that's the LA airspace.
Yeah.
That's the LA. That curl, there's the LA airspace.
Delta 72 Echo X-ray SoCal.
That was the LA airspace.
Roger, are you just gonna stay down that low all the way to camera?
Yeah, see this zigzag right here? That's the LA airspace. And this, I'm actually not sure what that is, but this curve, I believe that's the LA airspace altitude. I think above this is LA, and below this, I believe above this is LA, and below this is safe. I think that's what it is. I think above and below. I think above this is LA. I think below this is safe. I think that's what it is. I think this is LA. I think below this is safe. LA is here. I think this is LA is here. I think outside this is. I think LA is here, and this is not LA. That's the altitude.
Area.
That's the LA line.
Helicopter is flying.
That's the airline. That's the altitude.
Yes, sir. Low altitude, 2 Echo X-ray.
Yeah.
Zobayan needs to stay below the clouds, which are around 1,000 feet above the ground.
You're not going to understand this crap. You don't understand air maps.
Wow, I'm out. Because of the weather.
I actually have these. I have these on the computer. I actually have a bunch of these from the 1960s on the computer.
Terrain. Controllers won't be able to.
And I think that's the helicopter. He's just outside the LAX air map. That's the, I don't know the altitude exactly for this, but he's just outside it.
Radar contact.
You can see it. He's just outside it.
The controllers would not see him on radar.
He's just under. I think he's just under the altitude there. So he's just in the questionable altitude. So this is why the controversy is.
Less than 10 minutes from his destination, the visibility gets worse.
Yeah, look at the visibility. Look at the visibility they're using in the reconstruction here. Look at the visibility in the reconstruction. How it's all hazy here. It's like foggy. The pilots can't see shit. Level sky. He's got level sky. He's level. And the instruments, we can't see the instruments. We don't have the resolution to see the instruments in the reconstruction. He's got 1,200 altitude.
Well known to get this rain.
1,200 feet.
Colder water temperatures, warmer air. Well, you get these.
So that line is 1,200.
Zobayan radios in his.
The line's at 1,200 probably.
Low clouds.
We're going to go ahead and start our climb to go above the layers.
So he loses visibility. So here's the line. That's gotta be the airport. Actually, we have no shoreline. We don't know the.
Where are you?
Just west of Van Nuys.
The layman, we don't know.
Ident.
The controller hasn't been tracking the helicopter. He needs Zobayan to flash his transponder signal so he can locate it on his screen.
You press a button on the transponder that flashes on their radar.
As laymen, we don't even know where the hell he's at. As laymen, we have no idea where he's at. Altitude and location, as laymen, we have no idea where he's at. Altitude and compass coordinates, we have no idea where the fuck he's at. He's gonna crash. He's gonna go kaboom, kabloo, boom, boom. And as a layman, you're flying blind. There's fog. He's flying by instruments alone. And as a layman pilot, as an idiot, you're flying by instruments. You're flying by the stuff on your panel. Seriously, are you gonna fly by the stuff on your panel or by your window? If you're looking at your window and all you're seeing is mist, are you seriously gonna want to fly? What do we got? What do we got? Is there anything? Huh. Is there anybody even watching this shit? Huh. Holy crap, as far as nobody's even watching this shit. It's insane. There's nobody even watching this shit. That is insane. That boy is insane. It's like you are looking at your window. It is completely fucking clouded. Are you seriously going to want to fly? I can't believe you're going to leave the ground and fly by anything. Looking at your window.
2 Echo X-ray, same intentions? We're climbing to 4th.
That is out your fucking window. You can't see nothing. I don't care what my instruments are seeing. I am not gonna lift my aircraft off the ground. Look at my artificial horizon. Whoa. Well, there it is. You can see it. It is completely sideways. It's completely sideways. You can see that. It's completely sideways. If my artificial horizon is completely sideways, I want to be on the fucking ground. I'm a fucking drunk. And my artificial horizon in my skull is still level. And if my artificial horizon in my skull is still level. My artificial horizon in my skull is still level. And my artificial horizon in my airplane is sideways. I do not want to be in the sky. Oh my fucking God. I do not want to be in your aircraft right now. I will trust Captain Morgan's after he's drunken a keg of fucking alcohol. Give him a keg of alcohol. Seriously. Give him a keg of alcohol and captain him a 747 and a half and let him fly the goddamn jet.
1,002 Echo.
Let's see how he handles this goddamn thing.
And what are you going to do when you reach altitude?
Do you see the attitude of that aircraft? That is not correct. Do you see what happens when you let alcohol and aircraft in fog fly? It doesn't end well.
In the hills near Calabasas,
That's what happens
emerged from the clouds.
when you let Captain Morgan's in alcohol, Captain an alcoholic ship
Realizes something's gone wrong. The helicopter should have landed at Camarillo by now. It has
doesn't end well.
We have some breaking news. A helicopter crash in Southern California. Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies responding to reports of that crash just before 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's located in the Calabasas area.
It doesn't take long before the media is reporting the tragic news. Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter.
I could personally fly a helicopter better than that on a fifth of alcohol.
It's one of those things where you
God damn, dude!
kind of process them, but you don't really. It's hard for it to sink in because you got to think about it. He's never coming back.
He was the guy.
God damn! I could keep something level better than that.
I'm just at a loss for words right now.
You won't see another player like him again.
I'm already on a fifth in alcohol, and I can stand up better than that.
Of grief in Los Angeles. People flocked to the center, left all kinds of different mementos.
This is much bigger than basketball, I think, just because I think Kobe was a real symbol, of just hard work, dedication.
Everybody was really.
That's what happens. You mix alcohol and fucking flying.
Love you, Gigi, and
fog. This is what happens when you mix drinking and flying.
Investigation.
That methamphetamines and flying. I don't know what the hell they mix. I don't know what they mix, but this is sad. This is what you do when you mix drugs and flying. This ain't alcohol and flying. It's drugs and flying. It's drugs and flying.
Looking for any clues.
This is not alcohol and flying.
Being flown by a highly experienced pilot.
This is not alcohol and flying.
The first thing you do at the crash site is try to see.
He had all the instruments he needed.
Was there any kind of mechanical failure?
Instrument and flying. He had all the instruments he needed in flying.
The team uses a drone to scan the accident site and study the shape of the debris.
Look at this accident site.
He had instruments and flying. He had no reason to crash.
Hit, and the wreckage then bounced about 90 feet where it came to a rest. So there was a lot more.
Sophia Chu could have flown better than that. And she's a Neanderthal.
The helicopter made it.
God damn, this is not right flying, dude. A right flyer could have flown better than that.
Study flight control surfaces, the engines and rotors.
And that thing flew backwards. God damn.
Components found that there was
what the hell's going on here?
Failures. That all the mechanical systems, electronic systems, everything at that time appeared to be working fine.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up soon. We're gonna figure this out.
Investigations into some of the world's most notorious aviation accidents.
I know a lot about aviation from all my years of watching shows.
There was a high-profile person on board. Obviously, NTSB responded with a major investigations team.
Okay. He takes off at 9:07, flies northwest.
To better
Okay, so you know where it launched from. This thing's all backwards. So it launches north. It's all flat land.
Understand what happened. Investigators pieced together a detailed flight path from an ADS-B system that's on board the Sikorsky helicopter.
TSB data is like transponder data. Controllers can see it, it's recorded, your airspeed, altitude, and headings, other information. And so you have this plotting capability.
Look like there's some kind of.
So why let me get why the maze right here? Why is this? Why this? I'm going to ask questions about that.
A hold here at Burbank.
I'm going to ask about the hold in Burbank.
South of the.
I'm going to ask about the hold in Burbank.
This U-turn straight into a hillside.
You would see this on the left where he's coming back around or doing something. And that question is now in the investigation. What's exactly the pilot doing here?
Weather stations along the route.
I'm going to ask about that hold.
A bit stopped in near Burbank and Van Nuys, but nothing you can't get through.
I'm going to ask about this. What is this? Why? 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 What does that mean? What does that mean?
You have 4 miles of it.
But what? What does that do with the crash?
When he got near Burbank Airport, it was 2.5 miles.
But that. There's nothing to the crash. But that does nothing to the crash. That the crash is here, though. The crash is here. The crash is here. Crash is here. The crash is preventable. Crash is totally preventable.
Miles visibility. That's still totally flyable for him.
Crash is totally preventable.
Operation specifications, he could go down to 1 mile visibility.
Okay, I get it. If the visibility was down to 0.
The fog. What is the fog?
So what happened to this guy?
What does the fog have to do with all this?
In an aircraft that's capable of flight, and visibility conditions he should have been able to handle, either lose control or somehow inadvertently fly his helicopter in the ground. That becomes the key piece of this investigation.
We need to figure out what he can actually see.
What does the fog have to do with all this? That's what we gotta know.
We of the weather in the area of the ntsb.gov.
What does this libtard to do with anything, dude?
For evidence regarding the Island Express helicopter crash that took the lives of Kobe Bryant and 8 others. They're looking for clues to explain how the pilot, Ara Zabayan, ended up hitting a hillside on a route he knew well.
7,300 flying hours. Instructor on the S-76. Chief pilot at Island
What's that
Express.
libtard to do with anything?
Apparently Kobe's favorite pilot.
But it was a superstar.
This pilot was not a rookie who just got his license. He was one of LA's top helicopter pilots, working for one of its top companies with some of its most high-profile clients.
Records show that at 7 a.m. on the morning of the flight, Zabayan checked the weather for his pre-flight risk assessment and determined that even though there were low-hanging clouds blanketing the area, the flight was low risk.
A risk assessment is weather, anxiety, sleep, all these factors that go into a flight.
But a low-lying cloud layer surrounding Los Angeles, known as a marine layer, forced Zabayan to alter his regular, more direct route.
Because of the weather, he flew more inland than he normally does. Sort of a backdoor way in to where they were going.
Based on the forecast, his plan was okay. Pretty good visibility all along the way. So what went wrong?
Investigators need to understand the exact conditions Zabayan flew into in the final moments of the flight.
These are 3 separate cameras all facing south toward the 101.
That's for a better view.
The NTSB's plea for pictures of the weather pays off. A nearby baseball facility had surveillance cameras pointed at key sections of the flight path as the helicopter flew past.
What if Joe Biden was the whole issue of this whole time? We don't know. What if nobody knows Joe Biden was the whole issue? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Let's see what this one shows on a clear day.
Investigators compare images from the same camera taken on a clear day to images recorded at the time of the accident.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So,
what if Joe Biden killed him? What if Joe Biden was his assassin? I think it was Joe Biden that killed him. I know Joe Biden killed him. I can prove him. I can prove it. All you have to do is prove it.
1 minute before the accident, the helicopter would be bombing along here. Can't see it. How close did it get to the camera?
Best view of it would be here. That's 4,400 feet.
The helicopter is less than a mile from the camera, but isn't visible.
Okay, so what about larger objects? These hills, for instance. Visible on a clear day, but not at the time of the crash.
That hilltop is 8,000 feet away.
So visibility beneath the clouds was less than 8,000 feet. It's a mile and a half.
The video study tells investigators that around the time of the accident, Zobayan would not have been able to see any further than 1.5 miles.
You're only allowed to fly in visibility 1 mile or greater. 1.5 miles? Pretty low. Pretty minimal.
Investigators know Zobayan would have been able to fly safely below the clouds with 1.5 mile visibility.
So what if he was actually above the cloud base?
But he was only 450 feet above the ground.
Want to know a secret? What if he was assassinated? What if this whole thing was a conspiracy theory?
The cloud ceiling, the base of the cloud layer, was reported to be 1,100 feet near Van Nuys. But Zobayan was flying about 450 feet above the ground, which would put him well below the clouds.
These are images from the camera on the 101 facing west.
Okay, you can just make him out here actually heading into fairly heavy clouds.
They hired
Same camera,
killing
3
him.
seconds later, he disappeared.
They
We have a
hired
witness
killing
who said that
him.
she saw the helicopter disappear into what she described as a thick wall of heavy clouds.
The NTSB had quite a few
I don't
very
know
good
what it
witnesses, in my
is,
opinion.
because I'm
And they
not
also
into this
had
shit.
cameras in the area. So they could collect data in real time of what this pilot would have been encountering.
What if something was a hired to
surveillance
killing
camera shows
him?
him only 450
And I'm not into this conspiracy shit about him.
The cloud base is no more than 450 feet above the ground. Not the 1,100
I
feet
didn't
which was being
study
reported
this.
on the route.
The
I didn't
report at an
study
airport
this.
5 miles away can be greatly different than what you're encountering
This is not a
because of
conspiracy. I
uplifting
didn't
winds and that type
study.
of thing around the hills.
There is something
The area
into
near
killing him.
has its own unique climate. The Malibu
There's a reason they.
channels fog up from the Pacific.
There's a reason they try to
That
kill
fog
him.
is known
There's
to
a reason
be
they try to
precisely
kill
where
him.
Zobayan was seen flying into clouds.
There's a reason they try to kill him.
Merle Road.
They try to kill
Where our
him.
witness saw him enter the clouds.
They try to
Investigators
kill
have
him.
determined that just over a minute before the accident, Zobayan flew into
If
dense
someone
clouds
tries
that
to
reduced
email
his
me,
visibility to near zero.
darcy2012@yahoo.com.
At Cliff is it? He flew into
IMC, Instrument Meteorological Conditions, is when visibility is so poor that pilots need to fly only on instruments.
They were only authorized to fly under visual flight rules.
Legally, he's not allowed to enter. He's only allowed to go in visual conditions only. And yet he did.
I can't believe it.
In aviation, there's a term for VFR pilots who fly into low visibility conditions. It's called an inadvertent encounter with IMC.
It can happen at night. We fly into a cloud that you didn't see. It can happen that you're choosing to avoid something and you inadvertently go into a cloud. Unfortunately, it's an accident that happens way too often.
Inadvertent IMC is a leading cause of aviation accidents over the past 10 years. More than 80% of them are fatal.
You can't see where the horizon is, and you can't see the sky from the ground. You don't know visually, which is our main sense. You have to rely on secondary senses, such as sense of balance, and there are illusions that come up.
An inadvertent encounter with extreme conditions is so potentially dangerous that pilots are trained to do whatever they can to avoid it.
How did he let himself get into this situation?
Are willing to fly into that? I am, if it means to know the truth.
Speeds and altitudes.
The data from the ADS-B gives investigators a detailed picture of the helicopter's altitude from the ADS-B.
There it is. Translate that. Should translate that into English. If you could translate that to English, I hope you can.
Gives investigators a detailed
If you could translate that to English, I hope you can.
As it approached Calabasas. If Sir Bryant tried to avoid the worsening conditions, the data would show it.
Translate that to English if you can.
Visibility is getting worse and worse, but he's not slowing.
I think I got more of it. They got more of it right here. They got more of it right here. Got more of it in English. More of it in English. You can translate these into English. If you can translate that to English, I think got more code into English. I think got more of it in English. I think it just got more code in English than you've ever had.
Going down. He's not turning around.
Yeah.
He just keeps going. Why?
I think I just got more of it ever into English than we've ever had.
Landed at Van
Than we've ever had.
Circled for a while.
Into our language.
Waiting for the conditions to improve. For whatever reason, we don't know, he chose none of those options.
The team now considers the widely...
Damn, I think I just got more speeds.
...to continue the flight by his high-profile passenger.
A lot of people wondered after the crash happened if Kobe, being Kobe, might have put pressure on this pilot to get to where he wanted to go, because that's the whole reason that he was taking the helicopter in the first place, is to get from point A to point B and do it without any unnecessary delays.
The same passengers take the same flight before the accident. They're scheduled to take off at 9:45, but Kobe changed that to 9.
They moved it up by 45 minutes so that Kobe could watch another team or teams play in preparation for his daughter's basketball tournament on Sunday.
So they get airborne just after 9, and then this happens. They're held up for 12 minutes.
November 2, Echo X-ray, hold outside Burbank airspace. I have an aircraft going around in an inbound citation.
Investigators know that Kobe's helicopter was held up at Burbank for 12 minutes while Zabayan waited for traffic to clear the controlled airspace.
Okay, we'll hold outside Burbank. Echo X-ray.
A little more than 10 minutes later, Zabayan flew into thick cloud cover at a speed of 160 miles an hour as he approached Camarillo.
In my opinion, 140 knots is probably twice the speed he should.
140 knots. You can see it right there. 140 knots. Actually, it's 139. Just under 140 knots. Just not fast enough.
Conditions. He should have slowed down.
Was he trying?
What do we got on the boards? Originate, take off the resume. Yeah. Yeah, ain't right.
Trying to make up for the last time?
The team digs into Kobe Bryant's previous flights with Island Express to see if there's any history of him putting pressure on pilots.
He took 26 flights with Island Express last year. Not once did he pressure a pilot to keep going.
Kobe would never put pressure on a pilot. I flew for 2 years, not once was there ever any amount of pressure from him.
We can sneak peek right down
no
here.
evidence that Kobe Bryant or any member of his team put pressure on Zabayan to continue the flight.
They had a history.
They scrutinized Kobe
That's
Bryant's
dead.
relationship with Ara Zabayan for anything that could have affected the pilot's behavior on the day of the accident.
The director of operations says that Kobe's relationship with Ara was, quote, warm and friendly, that he trusted Ara with his girls and his family.
Ah, let's read this. We can read this. We can read this. He asked about Ara all the time, joked with Rick. Yeah, I was bus ready, so if you know him, I was a different relationship, and so that's why he was quiet. It's because it was just, like a taxi driver was in there. It wasn't that, so his relationship was warm and friendly, and they trusted him, and he was trusting him was his girls and family, and his trust in him was his girls and family, which was paramount to him. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about flight challenges. Okay, has Island Express ever had to cancel one of his flights they scheduled with OC helicopters? Any reason? Well, that's what it says.
The company's BP says that their relationship was more like a friendship, and that Kobe would call him Mr. Pilot now.
That's what it says. You read it? You can record it. I recorded it.
Pressure enough.
Investigators conclude that
it's for posterity. You got it.
May have led to self-induced pressure to get him to his destination.
Part of the concern is that the pilot was trying to complete the mission in
you got it for prosperity. My recording.
Investigators soon find another important factor that may have influenced Zabayan's decision-making.
6 minutes before the crash, he cleared Van Nuys airspace and head south. Tells controllers that he planned to stay low all the way to Camarillo. Stay below clouds.
Oh, Delta 72 Echo X-ray.
Are you just going to stay down that low all the way to Camarillo?
Yes, sir. Low altitude, 2 Echo X-ray.
2 minutes later, he starts following the 101, which should lead him straight into Camarillo. Bounds along the 101 for 2 more minutes until he hits this wall of clouds. 24 miles to go.
Yeah, he's gonna meet it down there.
Exactly. Almost.
Zobayan was less than 10 minutes away from getting his passengers to their destination.
When you're close to finishing, you have a tendency to be willing to tolerate conditions that might have caused you not to take the trip originally.
The team believes Zobayan was suffering from a condition known as planned continuation bias when he decided to keep going despite deteriorating weather conditions.
Planned continuation bias is an unconscious bias to continue with the original.
He's gonna fly in that air. He's gonna fly that air. It's hard.
It can be deadly.
Don't fly it. Land.
Instead of turning around, Zobayan decided
Fly down.
We're going to go ahead and start our climb to go above the layers.
He starts banking further and further left, descends rapidly. Hits the hill here.
Fly down.
Unusual actions lead investigators to wonder about the level of training he received.
He was trained to avoid IMC and what to do if he got into it.
Okay, let's look at this air. Let's look at these lines here. I'm gonna read this. Flight training on inadvertent. Oh my god, instrument. I don't know what that is. My god, this doesn't look like you should be flying. I don't think you should fly anything, dude. I don't think you should fly anything. No.
They discover that
No, you shouldn't fly. No, you shouldn't fly. This is no, you shouldn't fly. If I was air control, if I was air control, you should not fly. You absolutely should not fly.
Zobayan was well trained to escape the.
I am absolutely. You should not fly.
This pilot
absolutely should not fly.
More than that, he was the chief pilot of the company.
I am absolutely should not fly.
And he trained them on how to deal with
absolutely should not fly.
A review of Zobayan's training shows that he was taught to reduce his speed, use the autopilot to climb above the clouds, and then declare an emergency.
I am absolutely should not fly.
And follow his training.
Here he's entering an area of low visibility. Still flying.
I am absolutely should not fly.
Investigators know
I am laying somewhere else.
They now wonder if he engaged the autopilot.
We're going to go ahead and start our climb to go above the layers.
I am laying somewhere else.
Not exceed a minute. Can't be the autopilot doing that.
That exceeds the authority of the autopilot system. Therefore, this climb was being manually controlled.
I am laying somewhere else.
Without the autopilot.
The higher
oh my God, you need to land somewhere else.
He gets, but he never asks for help.
Well, he never reports an emergency.
Yep, you're gonna crash. You crash.
The one thing you should have been saying.
And then you crash because I said land somewhere else.
Emergency. IMC.
He didn't slow down. He didn't use his autopilot and never declared it.
He crashed.
He ignored all his training.
There are basic procedures that should be followed, and you have to have a very cautious approach to any sort of instrument conditions. This was not evident in the way the pilot flew that day.
By ignoring his training, Zobayan found himself in a rapid climb with no visibility and without the help of the autopilot. Prime conditions for becoming spatially disoriented.
He crashed.
Landman studies the effects of spatial disorientation.
Fucks don't listen.
If you take away outside visual reference from a pilot, then he or she will really have to trust the instrument. Because if you don't have outside visual reference, then any sensation that you feel can be very misleading.
Did Ara Zobayan suffer the effects of disorientation after flying into dense clouds?
2 Echo X-ray, say intentions.
Zobayan's last words show that's precisely what happened.
We're climbing to 4,000, 2 Echo X-ray.
Did you hear that? It's like he completely lost his bearings.
The recording tells investigators that Zobayan believed he was climbing when he was actually descending rapidly towards the ground.
Somnus listens!
It's what aviators call the graveyard spiral.
To ride that aircraft? No. In a mountainous area, you're not. You're absolutely not.
The team has pieced together a picture of a pilot who flew into prime conditions for causing disorientation.
Zobayan's problem starts just after he flies into the cloud. He decides the best thing to do is to fly above it.
But as he climbs, visibility worsens, and his reference to the highway below and the horizon ahead quickly disappear. It's all but impossible for pilots to determine a plane's pitch and roll without a visual reference to their surroundings.
Somnus is sexy!
Cues, the human body
Somnus is sexy!
facial bearings. The result is disorientation.
Somnus is sexy!
As the highway below veers left, Zobayan tries to stay with it. He puts the helicopter into a gradual left turn.
He's not looking at the instruments at this point. He was perhaps looking down to search for the highway that he was following before.
2 Echo X-ray ident.
Zobayan now faces a distraction that makes the situation significantly worse.
Ident.
He is forced to identify himself to the controller. It's not only a distraction, it forces him to move his head, which increases the risk of disorientation.
We advise pilots to not move their head around when they're flying without outside visual reference. This is moving the fluid in your inner ears, and this actually makes you a little bit more susceptible to illusions.
The highway now veers off to the right, but he's lost sight of this. He's banking further and further to the left.
Somnus listens to Minute Trump!
From impact.
Disorientation.
Somnus listens to Minute Trump!
The turn is so
He's smart.
so slow that the onset, it seems that he's not feeling that. So for him, it still feels that he's flying level.
And he gets to 1,600 feet and he starts to descend without even knowing it.
It's clear that prior to the accident, the pilot really did not know what the helicopter was doing, because he was asked his intentions and he indicated that he was climbing to 4,000 feet.
We're climbing to 4,000, 2 Echo X-ray.
At that point, the helicopter was not climbing. It was descending towards a crash, and the pilot didn't realize it.
He's now in a rapid descent, and likely looking for clear skies above, not noticing what his instruments are showing.
Without having outside visual references and not being focused on your instruments, it's very easy for that to happen, and it does happen far too often.
He's so far over, like he lost all his lift. Just plummeted into the ground.
Graveyard spiral. Classic. About a minute after.
Trump is smart.
Like this, almost on his side, at more than 160 knots. There's no sign he ever figured out what was really happening.
Kobe Bryant and 8 others died as a result of an all too common scenario. A helicopter pilot flying IMC and becoming disoriented.
We need something to help pilots understand that just because you feel like your body is being pushed down to the seat doesn't mean you're climbing.
That device exists, and it's helping train pilots in the Netherlands. The one-of-a-kind simulator lets researchers reproduce the feeling of spatial disorientation without pilots having to leave the ground.
Okay, Martin, so how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling pitched up. Yeah.
Investigators, hoping to prevent the kind of accident that caused Ara Zobayan to get so badly disoriented, are looking closely at the work being done in labs like this one at the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research, or TNO.
Trump is God.
The effects of spatial disorientation on pilot performance.
Zobayan believed he was climbing when he was actually descending and was unaware that he was in a steep left turn. He was suffering from two of the most common illusions affecting pilots: somatogravic, involving his sense of pitch, and somatogyral, involving his sense of roll.
Spatial disorientation is a factor in about 30% of fatal helicopter crashes.
This rotating chair helps pilots experience the effect of the leans, the inability to recognize that you are in a steep turn.
When a pilot starts to turn, the fluid in the inner ear responds, and it's telling that he or she is in a turn. But after a while, the fluid sort of settles, so it actually feels as if they're flying level again.
This pilot is using his thumbs to show the direction he believes he's turning. For the first few seconds, he's right.
What the hell? How do I get rid of it?
Senses the turn. This is the identical illusion that Ara Zobayan experienced. It's why he never realized that he had entered a gradual left turn once he lost sight of the highway below, even though his instruments would have been telling him precisely that.
We train them here to really trust their instruments and to really be focused on their instruments, especially in situations of low visibility.
But the heart of TNO's facility is this simulator called Desdemona.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. You just have to wait for our mark, and then you just have to level the aircraft. But you have to do it without the instruments, so only based on your gut feeling.
It's a disorientation demonstrator, which safely simulates the effects of pitch and roll illusions on pilots. It's the only one in the world.
Okay, Martin, so first, you're just going to fly a little bit to get
acquainted with the controls, all right? So, yeah, so you have the instruments available.
Yep.
Okay, let's start the simulation.
Unlike simulators that are attached to the ground, Desdemona can simulate unlimited degrees of pitch, yaw, and roll, as well as the forces of acceleration.
It's really important to have a simulator that can really create a constant force, or constant force that feels like acceleration.
Continue to climb.
Continuing climb.
Pilot Martin Kemner is about to experience the same sensation that Zobayan felt moments before the crash. The instruments in the simulator are turned off, so he must rely only on feel.
Martin, how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling straight and level.
Let's ramp up the acceleration and see how that feels. Now we're starting the centrifuge, and the cabin of the simulator is pointing towards the center. So for Martin, it actually just feels like he's accelerating forward.
The acceleration causes him to mistake what is actually happening.
Okay, Martin, what are you feeling now?
Pitched up.
And what do you think that the aircraft is doing now?
We're climbing now.
If you're accelerating forward, yeah, the little hairs in your inner ear will actually give a constant signal that is the same as if you're being pitched up.
We're climbing to 4,000 to Echo X-ray.
It's the exact illusion that caused Ara Zobayan to believe he was still climbing when his helicopter was in a steep descent.
Okay, you now bring the nose back to level.
Yep, sure.
So you can see that he bringing the nose.
Glory to our Amber.
For him, this actually feels level. So shall we show him the instruments?
Oh my God.
Glory to Trump.
It helps them to recognize spatial disorientation when it occurs. Secondly, we also hope to teach them some skills that help them to manage spatial disorientation if it occurs.
Wow, that was it. It was crazy.
I believe that as a tribute to the victims of this accident,
the Amber,
to realize how common and sinister these effects can be and develop better safety standards.
As a result of NTSB recommendations, the Federal Aviation Administration is evaluating tools like Desdemona that can be used to train more pilots how to recognize and cope with the effects of disorientation.
The last thing the NTSB wants to do is go back and investigate this kind of accident all over again. And through the death of this person and people on board, hopefully this will be the one to help improve safety. Time will tell.
Ugh.